G'day folks, welcome to another video. It's been a hell of a long time since the last video, 4 months to be precise, and I've been in lockdown. It's been 3 months now since I haven't left home. The locality that I live in has been under really strict lockdown conditions. We're forbidden to venture more than 5 kilometers from home, and we can only leave home to shop for food or go to a doctor, nothing else. So essentially in 3 months I have not set foot outside this house. So it's been tough, but we're getting through it. Now I've got a couple of lockdown projects going on, and lockdown project number 1 has been the beard. It'll go eventually. Lockdown project number 2 is the FJ. Now I have decided to completely strip the FJ and rebuild it, and I'm going to share this with you and explain exactly what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, and revisit some of the earlier parts of the build that I didn't document the first time around. For example, the fridge platform and various other bits. So I've had lots of questions from people along the way, so this is a good chance for me to share with you exactly how I did it. And I'm also going to share with you all the ways that I can improve upon the previous build, because I was very happy with how the vehicle performed, and I was very happy with the functionality of the build. It was very efficient and everything was perfect, but I think I can do better. So I've already made a start on some parts of the build, and I'll talk you through what I've done so far, and then you can follow me the rest of the way through to the end of the build, and hopefully over the coming weeks and months I'll be able to wrap up everything that I've ever wanted to do with the FJ, and it'll be exactly as I envisaged. So let's get stuck into it. Okay, so let me talk you through what I've done under the bonnet so far. Now, one of the things that I found quite ugly was the spider web of wires that was going to the main battery. Now, I've got all the things that were all the aftermarket accessories that were bolted onto the car. I've got the fog lights and spotlights, I've got the winch, I've got the LED light bar, I've got a 12-watt pump over there for my hot water shower system. I have a secondary battery going up to the back of the car. I've got a whole bunch of things that were connected to the main battery, and it was just a massive spider web of wires. And if I need to replace the battery, which I've had to do I think once or twice, I think once since I've had the car, it's a major operation to basically unbolt everything and then put it all back, and it was just getting unwieldy. So to make that a better operation and to make it prettier as well, what I've done is I've installed 2 distribution boxes. I've got a positive and a negative distribution box, and these are 300 amps each, and these are connected to the main battery using these massive thick wires, and I don't remember the rating off the top of my head, but I can put those up on the screen. I started by disconnecting everything from the main battery and labelling the wires, red for positive, black for negative. I then removed everything from the right hand side of the engine bay so that I had easier access to the wiring. This tool is called a nutsert. You drill a hole wherever you need it, and it rivets a threaded nut into the hole, perfect for mounting things exactly where you need them. I then mounted my circuit breaker that goes to the secondary battery, but I wasn't quite happy with how far it sticks out. So then I made up a bracket, painted it, and installed it with the circuit breaker. This is much better as it now tucks neatly into the recess. I then added 2 more nutserts and made up a bracket to hold the distribution boxes. Along the way I found some dodgy workmanship. I've removed the plastic covering, and I find that the cables are joined, and once I remove the black electrical tape, this is what I find. cables are simply twisted together. Now that is unacceptable. I then started on the process of relocating the fuses of all the aftermarket products to a single fuse box. The highest rated fuse I have is 25 amps, so I'm using 30 amp wiring, remembering that the fuse should always be the weakest link. I purchased a waterproof 10-way fuse box and then 3D printed a base for it out of ABS plastic that is rated for use in engine bays. I then completed all of the wiring, battery to distribution box to fuse box and then to each device. And finally, I fitted the battery back in. Now, I have everything that is low power draw connected to the distribution boxes rather than the battery terminals directly. So things like my 12-volt pump over there, I've got some fog lights, the spotlights, these are all relatively low current draw devices, so they are running off the distribution boxes. And the high current draw devices like the winch, like the starter motor, like the secondary battery in the back of the vehicle, they are all high current draw and they are still connected directly to the battery terminals themselves. Now, the other thing I did was I installed an additional fuse box. Now this is a really nice way of managing your fuses, and rather than having, because each device had an inline fuse that was dotted around the vehicle all over the place, and so it was really difficult to, at a glance, know where the fuse is for any one particular thing. So now I've relocated all those fuses to this fuse box here, and as I need some more, as I add more things to the car, I can just pop more fuses in there, wire it up, and directly to here, and I'm ready to go. So this fuse box is something that I made myself. The top part you can buy, and the bottom part is printed out of 3D printed out of ABS plastic, and I've chosen an ABS that is suitable for engine bays. It's suitable for high temperature environments, and that's basically the electrical work that I've done so far. Now, the other thing I've done is I've installed some electronic rust protection. Now, the company that I've gone with is a company called Couplertech, which is located in Queensland, Australia. And they make this fantastic electronic rust protection unit, and it's essentially a box which I've got just down here. It's a box that has 6 electrodes or pads that you can stick around the vehicle, 2 in the engine bay, 2 in the middle, 2 at the rear of the vehicle, and these go inside the bodywork of the vehicle. So I've basically had to strip the entire car, and I ran the cables and I mounted the electrodes around the place and wired it back up to the control unit here, which is of course connected to the battery. And the way it works is basically it sets up a current through the bodywork of the vehicle, and it stops rust from forming. I started the installation by selecting a good location for the module. It's nicely tucked away under the overhang of the panel. I grounded the module and wired up the 2 pads that go in the engine bay. I'm using heat shrink crimp terminals. The pads are then mounted on either side of the engine bay as high as possible, making sure that they are mounted on a flat piece of painted bodywork without gaps or joins. I then ran 4 wires through the firewall following the existing wiring looms and mounted 2 pads near the middle of the vehicle and 2 at the rear near the brake lights on either side. The edge of each pad is then covered with clear silicone to protect it from air, dust and moisture. Here's a handy tooltip. Getting wires through the firewall can sometimes be quite difficult. This is a wire insertion tool that makes the job a breeze. Gently push the tool through the firewall, making sure you don't feel any resistance as you push through. Once it's through, you can then run your wires through the middle of the tool and then pull the tool out and wire up both ends of your wires. Now I can put the website up on the screen and you can go and read about exactly how it works. It is quite revolutionary. Whether or not it actually works, come back in about 10 years time. Make sure you subscribe so you don't forget the channel. Subscribe, come back in 10 years and I'll let you know. The other thing before I forget, between the positive distribution box and the battery, I have a circuit breaker. There's a 120 amp circuit breaker, and that's just extra protection, and I can turn off all the aftermarket accessories if I want. Just clicking that button there, it'll turn it all off. So if, for example, I'm doing a deep water crossing and I am worried that, you know, I want to protect myself, I can just click on that and everything will be turned off and I'll be safe. The winch, of course, is still connected to the main battery, so that's perfectly fine. Some of the other modifications I'm considering doing is relocating the heat exchanger. There's nothing wrong where it is, but I think it could be better if I moved it up onto the front of the firewall. But in order to do that, I need to make a special bracket and then relocate that. So if I do that, I'll make sure I film that and let you know exactly how that part works. The other thing I've done is, in the last video about the hot water shower system, you would have seen that I've got some taps underneath the passenger side door, and I just plug in my shower hose to use the system. So I've decided that I don't like the idea of having to squat down and try and find where the plug is underneath the car. So I've relocated all that plumbing to up here, and there's a bracket that I made. This is the hot water. This is hot water out, cold water in, and I've got a switch here to turn it on or off. So that works really well. I am going to remake this bracket because I'm not quite happy with it. I think I can do a better job, so I will remake this bracket. And I think that's all the work that I want to do underneath the bonnet. That's basically it for the engine bay. Now, let me show you the inside of the car. So as you can see, I've completely stripped the car. I've taken everything out, and basically it started with the anti-rust protection device. Now that has 6 electrodes, or 6 pads, that need to be installed inside the bodywork of the vehicle. So I basically had to take the rear drawers out, the cargo barrier out, the fridge, everything that was in the back seat, all had to go out, the lining had to come out, and then I had access to the inside panels of the car. Basically, the car has been completely gutted. So the first thing I want to talk to you about is the fridge platform. This is it here. So essentially, the way it works is I've got an 18mm plywood sheet, and I've cut that to the right shape. Now, the easiest way to do it is to get a piece of cardboard and cut that to the rough shape, and then I'm using the back seats are on hinges. The fronts of the back seats were on hinges so I could flip the back seat up. So I've left the hinges in there, and I basically bolted the board to those hinges. So I started off by getting a piece of cardboard, and I cut it to the rough shape, bolted it to the hinges, flipped it down, and then I cut out the exact shape that I wanted. I made sure that it fit the profile of the car around the molding of the sides, and then when I was satisfied with it, I then transferred that over to an 18mm plywood sheet, cut it out, and then bolted that to my my hinges. And now the floor is slightly uneven, so I've worked out where to put some packing underneath it to make sure that when it's flipped down, it's supported all the way. And this was the only spot, luckily, that it needed a bit of extra support. And then I put some carpet on it. If you're going to be tying a fridge down to here, you need to make sure this is super strong. So I'm using hardened steel bolts everywhere. And I've got these rails, these aluminium aircraft type rails, and I then put the fridge on there, strap the fridge down, and that's my fridge platform. Right there is an existing bolt hole. Now that is one of these, I think that's 100mm long, I think it's an M8. I'll get the size and put it on the screen, but that basically goes down through the middle of the board, and you basically bolt that down to there, and that way the whole platform is nice and secure. It doesn't move at all. So that worked really well. I'm going to now make another one that is going to go on this side of the car. So I'm just waiting for some wood to be delivered, and as soon as I get that, I will make another platform for this side, and we'll carpet that just like this one, and we'll take it from there. The other thing I've done is I've actually swapped the tail lights. Now the old tail lights, there was nothing wrong with it, but these are some nice LED lights. They're in some smoky, clear smoky plastic covering, and I think it looks really good. And these are really easy to swap. There's just 3 bolts on the inside. They come off, the wires, plug the wires in on the inside, put it back, done. So that was a really simple modification. I actually bought these about 4 years ago. They've been sitting in a box, and I haven't installed them because I would have had to have taken everything out of the back of the car, and now this is the perfect chance to do it. So, new tail lights. That's going to look very nice. Look at that. Beautiful. Okay, so in my quest to save weight, I'm looking around the vehicle at all the things that I don't actually need. Now, I'm not going to put the rear seats back in, so I don't need the seat belts or these. So this and this is going to come off. Okay, done. Seatbelts and latch removed from both sides. Now, I actually weighed them, and believe it or not, that's 2 kilos. So every kilo matters, 2 kilos gone. Just while we're in the back of the vehicle here, I've installed the technical name for it is capacitive couplers, or as I like to call them, the pads for the Coupler-Tech rust prevention module. So there's one located here on either side, and one located in the back on either side, just on the side near the reversing lights. And I've run the cable all the way through and along this existing loom. I've nicely cable tied it so everything is nice and neat, and you can't even tell that there's cables running there. It just looks like part of the factory install. So this is the seat back from the smaller side of the FJ, and this alone is 7 kilos. So by taking this out, I'm saving 7 kilos. Okay, so I've got the 2 sides back on. This one is almost attached, but before I put it finally in place, I'm going to run some plastic tubing, and this is for my water. Now this is 10mm John Guest tubing. This is food grade plastic hose. It's about 1mm thick and 10 mils in diameter. And I'm just going to run this all the way along inside of the lining, and that way I can connect it up afterwards, and I don't have to drill holes anywhere. And that's pretty much exactly what I want. That's perfect. Okay, so last update for the day. I have now put the sides back on. Before I put the side panels on, I vacuumed out all the dust that was behind there. And both behind the panel and within the body panels of the car, it was just so much dust. It really is quite amazing how much dust these side panels keep out. Nevertheless, I've cleaned it up, I've put the panels back. Before putting the panels back, I've taped up the reverse side of the panels, so there's no more seat belts. So the hole where the seat belt comes out, I've taped that up. Same with the latch, same with every other bit of every other hole that I could find where dust could come in. I've taped it up so it's nice and hopefully dust free. I'm not sure what I'll be up to in the next episode, I've got some more plumbing to do for the water system. I'm going to have my water tank behind the seat, and I'm going to have my tap on that side of the vehicle. So the other thing I did today is I ran some plumbing from this location over to the back left hand corner, and I ran it underneath the lining, so now that's all out of sight. And in the next video I think I'll be hooking that up, and then there's some electrical work to do, and I've got a list a mile long. So thank you very much for joining me, and I will see you on the next video. See you later, guys. Oh, like, comment, subscribe. See you later, guys. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video, you may choose to support the channel by buying me a coffee or making a small donation via our website, 4xadventures.com.au. You can also support us by buying a beautiful cotton t-shirt, jumper or other merchandise. If you would like a t-shirt with a four-wheel drive that isn't listed, contact me via the website and I'll see what I can do. As always, your support means the world to us and goes directly towards bringing you more great content. Thanks again for watching.